So once again, hello and welcome to this SDC Verifier webinar. Today we're going to talk about automatic reporting within the FEA programs. I'm going to use the Ansys as FEA solver in this case, but everything what is shown in this tutorial, in this webinar and demonstration, it's possible to do the same things within Simcenter 3D and Femap. This is a part of our months of webinars, so we will have 3 more sessions in the future. I'll come back at the end of the webinar on this topic. So let's start with the model. What do we have here is a beam model which represents the ship-to-shore crane structure, and we're going to start with introduction as usual, with explanation of the software. I believe some of you are already aware what is SDC Verifier and what is the main goal of the software. If not, please visit our YouTube channel. There is the videos on the previous webinars. Also on our website, we have quite an extensive explanation of the idea of the software. So the main goal is code checking, but of course, everybody needs to present the results. So today we're going to show how to automate the reporting within FEA programs. We will start directly from the window of SDC Verifier. I'm not going to use the embed mode. We will use a separate window because we're directly going to jump into the reports. So I have here already the template of report I prepared in the morning, but we will start from scratch. So to generate the report, we already have SDC Verifier launched and connected to our model in Workbench. So to start the report, you execute right-click on reporting and select Add. There is several ways to create reports within SDC Verifier. We have Report Wizard, which is short and completely automatic way to create the document. It is not that extensive, and you just use the checkbox on including what would you like to have in your report. So you can create model setup report, results report, or full. Then we have another option, it's Report Designer. And with Report Designer, it's possible to have a complete control over the report structure. It's possible to preview, modify, move, and with having the user-friendly interface to interact with your report. And then we have the same designer for the presentation. It gives you a possibility to create the PowerPoint slides with templates from SDC Verifier, but today we're going to go for a Word document, and we will start from scratch. We will start with empty designer. So after you select this, the Report Designer window will open. Let's go through this window and see what's available in here. So on top, we have a toolbar with the standard buttons on saving the project, saving as, running the complete report, exporting this to Word or to PDF, toolbox, some setups of the number formats and legend settings, views, and so on. So all the options are here. On the left, we have a report structure where everything what's going to be included into your report is presented with a tree. And then below the report structure, we have properties. With these properties, so if you're selecting an item in report structure, with these properties, there will appear different options and properties of this item. So do you want to include it? Do you want to break page before it? What view you want to use, and so on. We will walk through these options later. And on the right, we have a toolbox which contains everything what is available in your project. So everything what is possible to add to report, the things that have been done before, different analysis, and so on, are included here, and also some extra items. So we're going to start dragging the items from toolbox to our structure of the report. But first, let's go to the first page. So to preview the item, you execute the right click on this and press generate. So at this point, we're generating only this item. And what do we see here is the first page. So it's course, it's editable. You can set up the template of this first page in the way you want. When you're starting the new project in SDC Verifier, it asks you about who is the engineer who prepared this project and for whom do you do this, and it automatically will be included on the first page. But also you can have a complete control over the layout. So you can adjust the layout the way you want. You can have, definitely in your company you have a standard template for the first page. So it has to be set up once with your corporate standards, and then it will be always automatical and the same. You can add different things like who performed this report, who checked this report, whoever you want to add. Then you can put some pictures in here, your logos, your photos, and so on. And since we're already in this layout editor, let's go through the rest of options. It's possible to edit the header and footer of first page and header and footer of all the pages. We like to put here our website, our logo, and the logo of the customer. We also have some page settings. So if you use some custom fonts and so on, you can adjust them. So all these things should be done once. And after that, you use it as a template for all your reports. We also use our corporate purple color, but if you don't like it or don't want it to be used, you can select the one you would like to have. And you can create some custom fields and add these custom fields into the first page or into the headers or footers of your report. So this was about the customization of the document. And now let's go create it. So after the first page, we will have the table of content and the preface. Preface is a very important part because it gives you some information about how this model was generated, what version of SDC Verifier and SEA program was used, then where is the model and project file located, and when it was generated, so you can track the time, and versions also could be added here, so you can have you can track and compare the date of report generation. Let's start. So reports usually in SDC Verifier, it contains 3 chapters. First of them is the description of how the model is built. We're calling this model setup. Then the results of the calculation itself, and then we have check. Let's start with the model description. We just select the SEM model description and drag it to the report structure. Done. What do we have here? We have materials, properties, components. Components, it's kind of a saved selection in SDC Verifier. We have a rule-based selector which goes through the complete program, and it gives you a possibility to create the selections of any kind based on type of material, type of property, geometrical coordinate, just select them by hand and so on, and then store this as a component. Here I have just different properties stored all together. And then you have a description of boundary conditions, loads, and constraints. Let's start with materials. We have 2 materials in this model. So we can generate the complete chapter, we can generate the complete document, or we can just, to save time, go one by one. Let's say I want to generate the material summary. Anyway, everything which has the checkbox selected will be generated. So in material summary, you just have the list of materials, how many finite elements are included, and what is the weight, the mass of these materials. You can also have generate a material itself and have a preview. In this preview, we will see what is the material, what is the property of this material, so tensile and yield strength, also the Young's modulus, and everything what is defined in the material in Ansys or in your SEA program. And then we have the same for the other one. In options, we can select different preview modes. We can highlight it or display only selected. With highlighting, we will have it selected by yellow. Yeah, I need to adjust the view. With highlighting, we will have it highlighted only in yellow. With display only selected, you will have only this material described. However, you need to adjust the settings of the view, which is coming later. Next part is properties. We have only beam properties in here, so let's generate any of this. Let's select the second one, seaside legs. So if we preview the property, it highlights the property in here. It shows you the shape and the dimensions of this property, and all the things like moment of inertia, area, warping constant, and stuff like that, important for the beam member shape. If it's a plate, it will describe you the thicknesses and so on. So we can preview everything, how the model is built, what are the properties used for this. And components repeat my properties, so I'm not going to generate this. This is basically the same. And we go to FEM load, so we see some different loads in our model. We can generate one of them. It's an acceleration, and we see that this is an acceleration in Y direction. I don't know if it's very visible to you. I can try to zoom in. And the value is 0.25 meter per square second. So we can define this. Acceleration. We can preview how the loads are applied and what are these loads, and of course the boundary conditions. So this helps us to present to the customer or the person who checks our report the way how we set up the model, the finite element model. The second part is the calculation itself. So we have a static structural calculation in here. I'm just dragging the static structural job into the structure of the report. We'll open it. So we have some predefined individual loads. We have the load combinations, and we have the load groups. Within the model setup, it's also important to see that we are able to have a content of this. So, for example, you can plot the content of the individual loads, and it will show you which step of Ansys or which FEM load and constraint is used in your FEA solver. In Ansys, here can be multiple steps. So if it's so, you will have it shown here. And the content of load sets, you are able to see how these individual loads are combined into linear load combinations with partial load factors. So you can preview each of these load combinations and then what's included in that combination. And for the load group, you will have the content of the groups. And you see that all the load sets, in this case, are included in the content of this load group. So let's go one by one. We want to see some results. So let's start with the beginning with individual loads. Let's say gravity. I want to show some plots of the results. I click on plots. This is the plot creating window, one of the ways of creating the plots in SDC Verifier. So in here, you can select the job itself. For now, we have one. You can select for what part are you creating these loads. Let's start with individual load and gravity, and we just add the criteria or contour plots. Let's go for criteria. We select the output here. Let's say it's going to be displacement, and the view is the way you see the model on your plot. We'll go to editing the views later. We will select the sum displacement, and for all the entities, press OK. Then we can do another one. Let's do this for stresses, equivalent stress on the same view, on the same selection. Done. So we have created two views, and press OK. And we see that it's created under the chapter of this individual load. Let's say we want to also add some table. We click on tables on the individual loads. Let's go with simple ones from the beginning. Let's select extreme or expand. It's going to be extreme, which shows the worst result on the selection. And we want to see the worst stress in our model. Okay, save it. So for now, we created this content. I can generate it. This is the first individual load, gravity. We have the sum of reaction forces, which if you don't want to show it, can be excluded in the options. So here you have sum of forces, yes. If you select no, it's not going to be included. And then we have the displacement plot, which shows the maximum displacement within our model, which is about 7.2 centimeters, 72 millimeters on the tip of the boom of this crane. And we have a stress plot. We see that stresses are quite low in the model. Well, it's just the own weight, so some slight stresses in the waterside legs. And we can see that the highest stresses, maximum stress in our model due to this load is 44 megapascals. So over here we can adjust it, so we can move the table up if necessary, or down with the arrows or move it back out of this chapter. And you say, yeah, okay, but if I have 100 loads, 100 of loads, how do I create all these things one by one? It's not very handy. First of all, if you want just to copy the structure, you select, you do the right click on the individual load, and you have a copy structure, or press Ctrl plus 1. So you select this, and then Ctrl, sorry, I need to move it out and down. And then you just press paste structure on the second one. In this way, you can copy the structure of one individual load into another, which sounds good, but also still it's too many work to copy everything. But if you go back to plots and select both that you created, you have a copy button here. You copy all the plots you have for individual loads, paste it for all the individual loads, and then paste it for all the load sets, and then paste it for the group as well. So we have created the plots we just did for all the items within my model, the load, individual load sets, and load groups. And we can do the same with the tables. So you can see it all created in here. We go for tables and also copy our table in here and paste it to all individual loads. Then we paste it for all the load sets, and we paste it for the load group. And basically, we created this template for stresses and displacement plots and stress table for all the items we have within our model. It's also possible to create some custom tables. Let's go back to the tables menu, go under the load groups, and we will select the components and flow table. We want to see the stress over some parameters. It's also possible not to create just simple extreme or expand tables, but tables over the parameters. So, for example, here we can have components extreme table over the selection, which gives us the possibility to select one load. Say it's going to be for the load group. And then we do the selection based on properties. So all the properties and maximum stress, press OK. We just created the table, which is the maximum stress over all the properties within our model. So we can see the stresses on the overall load group for everything, and we see that the highest stress of 140 megapascals appears in the backstage of our model in property number 17. There's also a predefined tables on the reaction forces. This is another type of advanced tables when you can see the maximum reaction force over the loads. You can also do the stresses over the loads to see which load is causing the highest results for your model. And another thing I want to show you, so we have this view on the, I haven't generated that. We have this view on the complete structure, but we want to see the problem spot, which we have. Let's say it's going to be on displacement, the location with the highest stresses from a closer view, or only this location. So what do we have to do then? We go to views, and we already, well, I have already created the view, but we can copy the default one. Select edit, and here you can select how your model is going to look like. And it's not, yeah, nobody is going to set it by coordinates, but it's easy to go back to mechanical or to the FEA solver you use. Adjust it the way you would like to see it. So let's say we want to have it, yeah, let's select completely front view, for example, and close, and then we go back to SDC and press get, and this view is selected. We just rename it into front close. Here you also have a possibility to adjust all the options. You want to show ruler, wireframe, you want to show fillet edges, thickness on or off, and so on, and also the limits for the plot. So do you use the legend limits, which is standard for the complete model? It's min-max for most of this of the categories, but for stresses it's from 0 to 180 megapascals, and for utilization factors it's from 0 till 1.2. So we'll keep it as it is, but also you can use local limits, and just for this view, just for this view ID, you can define the local limits. It can be min-max from 0 to 200 with 10 steps and so on. We'll stick to the local limits, which worked good for us in previous pictures. So we press OK. We have this front close view. What we can do is copy the stress plot, paste it in the end, and then press Edit, select the other view. We can generate this view. We can break page before this, keep it on a separate page, and we will have a break page, and we will have a separate plots with view like this. We can also drag it below the other stress plot and break page before this, yes, and break page before this one, no. And then we will have two different plots on the same page. It's also possible to easily adjust 2 items per page by clicking Apply to Full Structure, Arrange 2 items per page. Or you can arrange the items by clicking Apply to All, and here you can sort them by load, you can sort them by selection, and so on. So it's easy and convenient way to adjust the way how your report is going to look like. And to show you, we don't have much more time. I also want to show you how to present this checks results. So all the checks available in SDC Verifier is it beam buckling checks, members checks, the plate buckling, fatigue are possible to just drag from. So after you created that, just drag it from the toolbox to the report structure. You have a static check. You can show the formulas of your static check. So you can just present it as the standard, or you can include formulas, select yes, and show to your customer or manager how the check was actually done and calculated. For now, we have very simple static stress check. It's just 3 parameters, but if it's AISC, it's 16 different checks with 10 parameters for each. So it's already, we'll show you 10 pages of formulas, which makes your report even more impressive. So we want to show the results also. We can do just right click on this, select criteria plot, select utilization factor, or you can select any parameter of your calculation. We select here the utilization factor, default view, overall for all entities, press OK. We do have the results of static stress check. And then we need to go for a summary. So what do we want to do? We want to drag some extra item. We select the user chapter. We can rename this user chapter into summary. And in our summary, we want to show what is the highest stress and utilization factor of our model. We drag the text box, 2 empty text boxes to this one, and then we just copy the stress of the group. So we go to our load group, we select the maximum stress on the general view, we press copy or Control-C, and then we go to summary, paste it, and we also want to present the results of the static stress check. Yes, we copy this, we paste it back to our structure, we drag it. We can write some custom check like, I don't know, let's say stress is below the allowable. And then we can do the same for another text box and type it here in the utilization factor is below or is equal to 0.4 or 0.6. I don't remember actually. And then just generate the summary. So why I encourage you to use this summary, because if something changes in your model, you just go to adjust your thicknesses, go to adjust your model, whatever is this modification. So engineers usually get this last-minute design changes, and redoing all the report is time-consuming and hard, and you need to do this in last moment, and creating all these pictures once again is hard. But if you need just to change your mesh, recalculate and regenerate the report, basically what we need to do now is press generate and press export to Word, and our report is complete. So having this summary made in SDC Verifier gives you a possibility to quickly adjust to the different parameters and to generate the same for the modified. So the less you do less modifications you do in Microsoft Word, less will be the double work when you will have to change something. And in this extra parameters, you can import the picture, you can import the part of the Word document, so you can import the part of other report. Show you how to do this. I'll collapse this tree. I'll just drag import Word document, and here you can basically select the file path and just open the part of the document you want to add, and it's done in here. This is basically everything I wanted to show you during this report designer presentations. We had only 30 minutes, so quite short on time, but we managed to make a complete report on the calculation and code checking of the ship-to-shore crane, and our report is going to have 102 pages. I think like in 25 minutes, 100 pages, it's quite quick. And the last thing I wanted to show you is the webinars we're going to have in the next weeks. So next week we will go with fatigue checks. I will in half an hour show you how to generate, how to calculate the fatigue. On the 23rd of April, we will have the same code on the offshore structures and complete automatic code checking of the offshore structures. It's a beam plates and joints checks and verifications. And on the last webinar, I will show you the design of ships, and it's going to be the plates and stiffener buckling checks according to ABS and DNV. I will automatically send you invitation to this. If you just don't want to attend it, please decline it or hit me a message to exclude you from these webinars. And this is the contact details. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions, but if you have some, please send me an email, give me a call, or contact our help desk, contact our support. We are willing to answer your questions, and we are willing to help you to make the reports in your FEA programs more effectively, quicker, and easier for you. So SDC Verifier helps you to focus on important and interesting stuff, the engineering itself, and all the boring, routine, and repetitive work we will do for you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for attending this webinar. I hope it was